Hey Fit Vegans in the making, I hope you're doing great. Today I'm going to show you the truth about using vegan keto for weight loss. So if you're aiming to lose some weight and you're looking to do it in the most sufficient amount, most effective amount, and the most sustainable method possible, then this is the right video for you. So if you just give me a couple of minutes of your time, I'm going to show you exactly if vegan keto is the thing that you should be doing for your weight loss. So what are the pros and cons of it, and if you should invest your time and maybe money or energy into trying vegan keto. Okay, so if you think this advice I'm going to give you in a couple of seconds is valuable, just smash the shit off this like button so this channel stays in good favor of the YouTube algorithm gods. Okay, so let's just jump right into it. I have my computer right here. I've prepared a couple of points to give you this in the most scientific and backed up manner as possible. Now, the keto diet originally stems from Dr. Atkins. Now, Dr. Atkins was actually one of the first ones that started this low carbohydrate diet trend in the United States, and it was even named as the biggest fat diet in the United States, keto. Now, why is keto in general? I'm not talking about vegan keto right here, but why is keto so popular? Now, one of the reasons why keto is so popular is that you have a dramatic amount of weight loss in the first couple of weeks, and generally, especially in the first weeks, and especially human beings. I mean, me obviously included. We are kind of primed to want to see immediate results. Like instant gratification is really what we're looking for, you know. So if let's imagine your weighing scale hasn't moved for like 2 months, suddenly you try vegan keto and then it moves like 2 pounds in a day, then you're like, okay, this is it. I'm gonna be vegan keto or keto in general for life. Okay. The problem is just that this is usually not fat weight that you're losing. So you're not really losing fat that fast. You know, what you're losing usually is water weight, because 1 gram of carbohydrate storage in your body is usually linked to about 3 grams of water. So what happens when you're using a keto diet, when you're depleting your bodies of calories, your body is kind of using his carbohydrate storage to function properly. Okay, and this will lead to depletion of carbohydrates, which then will lead to depletion of water, which will make you look a little bit different because you lose some water, but it's mainly just an effect on the weighing scale. So you're not really losing a lot of weight. Also, if you would go back to your normal eating behavior, you would gain a significant amount of weight again. So important to know, this is why keto is so popular, because you lose a lot of weight fast, but a lot of this weight is not fat, it's actually water weight, because your carbohydrate storage are linked to water in your body. Now, why would I think keto, what are like the downsides, so to speak, of keto in this regard? The downside, I think a huge downside, is that our central nervous system has evolved to use glucose as fuel. You know, our brain has evolved to use glucose as fuel. The brain is actually like, let's say, you can imagine the brain as a king in a castle that kind of governs this village that we have down here. You know, our brain is actually quite separate to our body in general, because it's in this skull. You know, it has a very strict blood-brain barrier, where very few substances can actually go through to our brain. So our brain is like very selective, like a castle with a lot of guards that prevent people from coming in. So our brain is very selective about which kind of substrates or chemicals actually can go in there. And one substrate or one molecule that they allow is glucose, because glucose is their fuel. So that's very important to know, because that's hugely important in how you should structure your nutrition behavior. Because if your brain is so selective of what comes through, and its preferred fuel source is actually glucose, then should you deplete your brain of glucose or your central nervous system of glucose? In my opinion, I don't think it's the smartest of ideas. So there's a lot of research backing up that you should eat at least 100 grams of carbohydrates a day. And it's for your central nervous system to function properly. And a lot of people might claim, yeah, your central nervous system can still function on ketones. While this might be true, is it the most efficient thing to do? I mean, you can also sleep in a sitting position, but this is something you should be doing when your brain or when your body has evolved to be resting in a laying down position. Probably not, you know. And while you might be claiming subjective benefits, it will not overrule the years of evolution where our central nervous system has been thriving on glucose, unfortunately, or like fortunately, so to speak. Okay, so this is an important point to make. It's simply our central nervous system has kind of evolved on glucose to function properly. Also important to know is that if you're weightlifting, if you're looking to get results in gym, glucose is your main source of fuel, because when you're training, it's anaerobic, which means it doesn't use oxygen. Why is this important? Because if you use oxygen for energy creation in your body, now I hope this is getting too complex here, but if you're using oxygen for energy creation in your body, it's called aerobic, and then you use fat and glucose just with oxygen. But if you're using it without oxygen in your body to create energy, which is the case as if you're weightlifting, then you're using glucose and some storage that you already have in your body. And this is important to know, because if you're weightlifting, you want to make sure that you eat a sufficient amount of glucose to function properly. And I remember when I was trying a keto diet a couple of years ago, I was feeling really wasted in the gym, because frankly, I didn't have enough glucose to function properly. I was eating completely different to what my body needed in this activity. So this is important to know. Again, if you're training, if you're weightlifting a lot, if you're doing activities that are very high intensive, you need to have a sufficient amount of glucose to function properly. Also, like all the athletes that I've ever worked with, and also if you read about the diet of athletes, almost no athlete, like literally no athlete, is following a low carbohydrate diet. I mean, LeBron James, you can read about this, about like that he's like a proponent of the keto diet, when in reality he was trying it as a mental toughness challenge for like 60 days. So he's not following a keto diet when he's looking to optimize his performance. In fact, most athletes eat at least 60% of their calories from carbohydrates. Okay, so we have athletes, we have weightlifting, we have your central nervous system, then we have loss in water weight, which is important to consider. And now let's go to the next point. What low carbohydrate means, what keto means is low carbohydrate. What low carbohydrate means is high in fat and high in protein. Now, why is this important to know? Because 1 gram of fat has 9 calories compared to 1 gram of carbohydrates, which has 4 calories. On top of that, which means, and calories are very important for weight loss, by the way. And yeah, so it's the most important thing when it comes to weight loss. So you have way more bang for your buck if you would go for carbohydrates, because they have half of the calories of which fat has. Okay, so in carbohydrates, you have way more bang for your buck. On top of that, carbohydrates are way more satiating than fat is. So you have fat, which has way more calories than carbohydrates and is less satiating. Why should you go for a nutrition that has more fat than carbohydrates? It doesn't make sense. It's like, in my opinion, it's not really well thought out. You know, you have to take a look at the ingredient, so to speak, of keto, which is high fat. And high fat has a lot of calories and like way more calories, and is way less satiating than carbohydrates, which is really not something you should be aiming for when you're looking to lose weight on a vegan nutrition. Also, like if you look at the founder of the Atkins diet, this is the last point that I want to make here, is he died with a history of chronic heart attacks, multiple heart attacks, and chronic hypertension. You know, his wife, his widow, so to speak, also denied an autopsy because he didn't want them to find out more things than he had, which is of course a right, but just like it's a little bit of sketchy. When you think back to Nathan Pritikin, you know, one of the original founders of vegan nutrition, so to speak, before Dean Ornish and all that stuff, he actually encouraged an autopsy, and he had like one of the best arteries they've ever discovered. I think arteries of 20 or 30 years old. It just shows the difference between those two camps of like high carbohydrates, unprocessed, whole foods plant-based diet versus a low carbohydrate diet. Now, low carbohydrate is not the same as vegan keto, obviously, but just like the principles are quite similar. So my advice to you is do not use vegan keto for weight loss. I mean, you're stacking the cards not in your favor. You know, it doesn't really make sense. It's less satiating, fat has more calories, your central nervous system needs a sufficient amount of calories to survive, and the initial weight that you're losing is not actual fat, it's more water weight. So in my opinion, follow a balanced whole foods plant-based diet, so still vegan, very important, and make sure you eat a sufficient amount of vegetables and you track your calories. And that's it. The way I work is I make as little changes as possible in the nutrition of my clients for them to still see weight loss. So I'm not putting them on a certain amount of diet regime. I actually look at what they're eating in a day and then make slight changes so they're still gonna see the results. So guys, if you like this video, as said before, smash the shit off this like button down below. If you want to see future content like this, subscribe to this channel. And if you want to work with me directly, if you want to lose some weight, or if you want to gain some muscle, if you want to get in the best shape on a vegan diet, go to qualitygains.com. You can schedule a free consultation with yours truly. Okay guys, until next time.